Rockstar Gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. I mean, we're live every day, guys, like basically around the same time, 8 o'clock EST. Y'all know what time it is. Now, I did say we were going to do a mock draft tonight, but we'll save that for tomorrow night because I wanted to talk about Dan Morgan. He's kind of been in the news lately for the Carolina Panthers, talking about that we're not going to settle for this mediocrity. We're not going to, and that we're going to do this whole offseason haul and that we're going to be aggressive. And I really wanted to talk about that. There's a video I want to go watch, and we've kind of gone over this a little bit, but there's like this most recent interview he had talking about the offseason moves that he wants to do. And so I got it. I got to find it. It's on Twitter. And I'll pull it up for us. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. All right, let's see here. Let's get it pulled up. But on your way in and on your way out, make sure you do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate that. All right. Let's get Overhaul. I need you over here. And I need Twitter over here. We're going to do this. Out that screen. And let's take a peek.
Let's talk about needs right now. And I know you're probably, got a list of all the things that you want to do this off season, and you don't want to give away anything either, right? And I definitely understand that. But where are the needs on this roster, at least from a broad perspective of what you can talk about right now and what you're looking for in the players that you're going to bring here?
Yeah, I think, we're going to look to bring, passionate football players, first of all, and then we're going to look for playmakers on both sides of the ball. So defensive side, guys that can take the ball away, guys that can affect the quarterback. And then on the offensive side, guys that can make plays, whether, receiver, tight end, guys that could just make big plays. We were kind of missing that element on both sides of the ball this past year. So, we'll attack that. And then, I think on the defensive side, our front, we got to get a little stronger there so we're able to stop the run. But, we're just going to look to get better in every avenue. In every position, we're just going to try to get stronger and create the most competition that we can.
All right. So that was a short one there. We've obviously gone over this before. All right. We've gone over this before, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll say this. Like, if we're looking at this roster, right? So if we look at the Carolina Panthers roster right now, and we're going to do this whole complete overhaul, and we're going to do this whole complete overhaul. Okay. So if we're looking at this roster from a standpoint of, all right, if we're looking from this standpoint from a position groups, all right, or not even position group. Well, yeah, we go through. Actually, if we just even go look at the lineup, I mean, from the offensive line standpoint to the wide receivers, running backs, quarterback, offensively, the only thing, like offensively, if we're talking like, if we're looking at the position groups, we're heading into this 2025 offseason, right? We've got a laundry list of, a laundry list of guys that are positions and problems that we need to fix. Okay. So Dan Morgan's first year as general manager, I would say, was probably less about quick wins and more about damage control. I think we could all agree with that. Like, he cleaned up the mess left behind by the previous regime. That's what he did. All right. And if you go, Scott Fitter was, it was like watching. It was like watching just paint dry the way this guy was just doing things, honestly. Like how bad he was, right? So he made some tough calls. He introduced a business first type approach when he was prioritizing this team, ladies and gentlemen. Like that prioritized long-term stability over short-term band-aids is what he did. And Morgan ended up, and Morgan, who's a guy, well, really what Morgan as a former player with who probably has a sharp eye for talent, right? You would think he is, right? He's got this meticulous mindset. He avoided panic moves, but let's not sugarcoat this, man. This roster is still a long way from contending, right? We talked about that last night. Also, like if y'all missed out last night's live stream and the night before last, like that's kind of been like the theme this week that we are a long way from contending still. Okay, we won 2 games the year before prior, and now we won 5 games. So yes, we're heading in the right direction, right? We showed some life in the second half of 2024. Obviously, gave us that nice sliver of hope. But anyone thinking that this roster is ready for a playoff push is absolutely delusional. The cap situation, again, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about it last night. It is tight. Every contract, there's going to I'm hoping that there's going to be some contract restructures because there are some guys on this team that definitely need some restructuring. There's definitely going to be some strategic cuts that I think they're going to try to free up some space with, right? You know, we talked about the Miles Sanders situation. That could be a guy that could free up some space for us, right? So still, complacency when it comes to this isn't an option. Morgan needs to be a ruthless general manager right now this offseason. March, free agency starts. It's in plugging the glaring holes of this Panthers if we want to sniff that NFC South title or at least be in the race, you can't do anything less. It's unacceptable, right? So if we're looking at this from a standpoint, let's go into position groups. If we're going through top 5, all right, and there's no particular order, right? I would say safeties is definitely one of them. If we're looking at a position group for the Carolina Panthers, safety is one of them. Like this is a perfect example right here. Like look at this safety group, man. Xavier Woods, a 57 overall. Dane Jackson, a 33.8, which why is Dane Jackson playing safety? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. Jordan Fuller, 53.8. Sam Franklin Jr. was our best safety overall, basically. Nick Scott, Lonnie Johnson, right? Right? They don't even have Damani Richardson on here. Where do they have Damani Richardson listed as? Under corners? I mean, I don't know how Damani Richardson's listed as a corner PFF. He's a safety, bro. PFF, do better. Damani Richardson is not a corner. Okay? He is not a corner, bro. All right, let's go back to the safety group, though. Like, I'd rather rock with Damani Richardson at safety and Sam Franklin. I'd rather rock with both of those guys than anybody else on this roster. I'd like the Nick Scott, Jordan Fuller project didn't work out. Xavier Woods I think his age is starting to show, man. I think he's on the back end of his career now. All right. But if we're talking again, Evero's unit, we're talking about Evero's unit. We're talking about this safety group right now. This is a gaping hole in the secondary, this group right here. Again, this defense was historically bad in 2024. So when we're talking about position groups, safety is one of the ones that we have to fix. right? We gave up the most points in a single season in NFL history, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a revolving door against the run, right? Among many issues. But again, the safety position to me stands out like a sore thumb. Yes, so does the defensive line. Yes, so does the edge rushers, but so does the safety group. The only player guaranteed to return in this 2025 is undrafted free agent Damani Richardson, even though they don't have him listed as safety. But that's not exactly a comforting thought. Like, yes, I like Damani Richardson. I'd rather rock with him than anybody else on this group right here going forward. But Xavier Woods regressed significantly. Like he regressed so bad, like he won't be back. Regress. The Jordan Fuller Nick Scott reunion, like I said, with Evero was uninspiring, ineffective. They're as good as gone. Sam Franklin is a standout on special teams, which I think is going to earn him another short-term deal here. But he's not the answer in the secondary. But I do like what he brings to the table. Okay. At least from a special teams standpoint, and then when you can rotate him in. But Morgan has both draft picks, cap flexibility to bring in some talent there. Javon Holland's name has actually been thrown around for us to go after. Again, Malachi Starks, Nick Amanawari in the draft. Those are some guys I'm going to throw names out there. There's definitely more than that, right? The guy out of Texas, I can see his face. I can see his last name. He's kind of like, he's got like a Hufanga last name. I can't remember his name. But he's one out of Texas as another guy in the draft. So there's again, safety in this draft. There are like 4 to 5 solid safeties in this upcoming draft. But my top 2, Malachi Starks, Nick Amanawari, those are my guys I'd like to target. Now, with the flexibility in the cap and the draft picks, Dan Morgan's going to have to find players who fit in this Evero scheme. In this very complex 3-4 scheme, assuming Evero makes it through another season here, right? Obviously, he's going to be here, but him making it through, whether it's through the draft that Dan Morgan goes to get a guy, or free agency gets his guys, you can't afford to ignore the safety room any longer. We cannot. The safety room has to be better. All right. Mukaba, thank you. Makabu. I think Rob Walk actually got it for me. What's good, Marcos Cash? Are those no names? Yeah, basically. These guys are no names. So position group wise, safety's 1. All right. And I'm going through top 5. Okay. I'm not going through the ranking of these are the top 5 position groups I think we need to fix this offseason, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Say there's no particular order in this again. So we started off with the safety group. The next one, again, this one's easy for everyone. The defensive line. The defensive line. If there's one area that, again, another area that's screaming immediate attention, again, is this defensive line. You lose Derek Brown after just one game was a death blow. Without him, the Panthers were helpless in the trenches. The Panthers, again, we're talking about allowed 179 rushing yards per game in 2024, worse than the league by a mile, literally by a mile, because the team with the second lowest, which I'm not sure who it was, but I do remember the number, they were 30 yards less than we were. That's how much further back we were from second to last. Again, this defensive line cannot stop a nosebleed when we look at this roster. Okay? Right? The rest of the defense crumbled as a result to that. And Evero had no answers for these guys, just like the safety group. He had no answers for that safety group. That's probably why PFF had Dane Jackson in the safety group, because Evero was trying anything and everything to make just something work, and he couldn't because of the lack of talent on this defense, right? The Shy Total experiment at nose tackle, that was over before it even fucking started, okay? He's not the guy. Morgan needs to step in, make that fucking clear, right? A'Shawn Robinson flashed as a pass rusher, but was unreliable against the run. The opposite of what was expected when you signed him. You expected him to be able to do that. I'm willing to give him another shot, but beyond that, it's time to clean house, okay? Aside from Brown and perhaps Jaden Crometti on this roster, no one on this defensive line is safe. Deshaun Williams, LeBron Ray, Raquan Williams, those guys are just simply not going to cut it. They're not good enough. They're better off on a practice squad somewhere else. Or maybe we can move them to our practice squad. But that's about it. Morgan needs to invest in the defensive trenches with the same intensity he showed when rebuilding that offensive line last year. So maybe a double dip on the defensive line might be the move, whether you do part of it in the free agency in the draft, or you do it both in the draft, or you do both in free agency. I don't care how he does it, but that has to be one of the top priorities. You could even make the case that the defensive line is number one. As much as the edge rushing room. As much as the edge rushing room. I could even say that it's probably just as much as a need for that linebacker room too, because the linebackers weren't filling their gaps. Especially playing soft coverage outside. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Playing fucking soft coverage. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. I appreciate every single one of y'all in the chat. I really do. So shout out to you guys in chat. Shout out to you guys. All right, let's get into the next one. Here's another group. Here's another group. You know what this group represents right here? That's what this group represents right there. That linebacker room was about as good as this. That's about as good as it was. That's about as good as it was. That defensive line, the defense, again, the defensive line, safeties, linebackers, that's about as good as they were. That's about as good as they were. Edge rushing room, defensive line, linebackers. Is they gonna play my song? Safety. That's how bad this defense was. All right, but let's talk about the linebacker room. Enough with the fart noise. This was another liability, man. The linebacker room was, you got to think about it this way. This is one of the rooms that Carolina built its destiny on, if you think about it. Built their reputation on, right? That was the crown and jewel of the Carolina Panthers football, the linebacker room. Because of names of like Dan Morgan, John Beeson, Thomas Davis Sr., Luke Kuechly, made this position a point of pride. Kuechly's surprise retirement back in 2020, that has sent this unit into an absolute tailspin. It's been downhill ever since Kuechly retired, if you think about it. So the 2024 offseason saw a colossal misstep when the Panthers let Frankie, well, I want to say that they let Frankie Louvu walk, but we all know the situation with Frankie Louvu. We actually offered him more money. We offered him a 3-year, $39 million contract. Washington offered him a 3-year, $36 million contract. And Dan Quinn, of course, inspired Louvu to go over there instead, right? So instead of locking down one of our few defensive stars, right? Morgan and then cap guru Brant Tillis dragged their feet. Louvu signed with Washington. He now earned a Pro Bowl, All-Pro honors, and then helped Commanders reach the NFC Championship. Meanwhile, the Panthers are linebacking corps floundered without him. Josie Joel, again, signed a free agency, showed some promise late in the season. But again, we're looking at a 52.2 defensive run grade. That's got him ranked just with that alone 165th out of 189 linebackers. Now, what that position rank is out of overall. I'm just talking about his run defensive grade. So that's not exactly elite. Wallace had his moments, but was inconsistent. I expected that because he's a rookie. Okay, Shaq Thompson's season ended after 2 games due to injury, and at this point, his future is a giant question mark. So whether Thompson stays or goes, again, this unit needs reinforcements desperately, ladies and gentlemen. This unit needs reinforcements bad. Okay? All right. Let's get into the next one. Obviously, this is a simple one. Again, it's edge defenders. Okay. This has just been a self-inflicted wound, man. You trade Brian Burns to New York Giants. I was okay with it because I don't think he's worth $30 million. And honestly, this year for him going up against him being in New York proved that he wasn't really worth it, right? The $30 million. But here is where it still grinds my gears, and I will still never forget this to this day about Brian Burns. When I think about Scott Fitterer, and I think about this previous front office, when they blunged Burns' contract situation in the first place, and then they turned down 2 first-round picks from the Rams back in 2022. And that's why I was so lenient about Morgan becoming the GM because he was part of that regime and had to deal with the fallout. And by the time that trade became inevitable, the Panthers had lost all leverage and got far less than Burns was worth. So you lose Brian Burns, who was the edge rusher, the edge rusher was a shell of his former self, right? Jadeveon Clowney did his best to fill the void, but struggled with a reliable partner opposite side. DJ Wannum's return from injury provided a slight boost for sure, right? This isn't a duo that's going to keep offensive coordinators up at night. Like beyond that, there's nothing DJ Johnson hasn't shown he can be a consistent contributor off the edge. Amari Barno is solid on special teams, but is invisible when he's on defense. The rest, these guys are practice squad fillers. Okay. If the Panthers are serious about competing in 2025, you got to fix that edge rushing room. That's got to be one of the top 5s to do list, right? And then last but not least, surprisingly, I'm not going to go wide receiver, right? I've said from this group right here, and I'm not even going to say corner, not going to say center, I'm not going to say halfback, and I'm not going to say wide receiver. I'm going to say tight end is in my top 5 to be one of the positions I think we need to fix. the tight end group isn't the biggest problem, but it's definitely in the top 5. I would say it's probably number 5 on my list. But it's a glaring one when you consider how much Bryce Young needs help in year 3. Okay? And so rookie Jadeveon Sanders, yeah, showed flashes as a reliable pass catcher. That's about it. He's a solid foundation for the future, but Morgan shouldn't stop there. This team does need a true number 1 wide receiver, but it also needs a true number 1 tight end to give Young, I think, a security blanket over the middle more than just some wide receiver, actually. Now, because I took some time to think about this. Like, Tommy Trimble's going to probably hit free agency. He's a strong blocker, has done reasonably well in the past game when he's healthy, but injuries have held him back. Okay. A short-term deal is possible, but I don't expect anything long-term deal. Ian Thomas, on the other hand, has just been nothing but a disappointment. Bricks for hands. Trash. Sorry. Ian Thomas is absolute hot garbage. He'll never, he should go play in the UFL. All right. So, yeah, I mean, this is how I feel about Ian Thomas. Yeah, that's how I feel about Ian Thomas. But we've been plagued with this tight end group since the Greg Olsen days. We always talk about Luke Kuechly leaving. We always talk about the greats leaving. Greg Olsen leaving. We have been plagued with all these greats leaving and never filling the void with a successor or any of that. Like, Ian Thomas was supposed to be that successor for Greg Olsen, and he just never lived up to the hype, not even close, and should not be back on this team. Felipe Franks, Jordan Matthews, decent special teamers, they're not going to move the needle. This is a position group that needs a complete overhaul to give Bryce Young a fighting chance. Again, I picked tight end over wide receiver. The reason why is I think that he needs a true number 1 tight end to really give Bryce Young that security blanket over the middle. And if you can get a tight end that can be that security blanket over the middle with still having Adam Thielen, and you can still build that chemistry with Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker, I think that it's better off going a tight end at over wide receiver. I would put, if I'm going through my top 5 list of position groups, though, which we just did, but if I'm going to rank them as a top 5, number 1 has to be, for me, defensive line. The trenches are a disaster. You can't stop the run, right? Like, again, you allowed 179 yards per game. That's enough for me to say that defensive line, number 1. Number 2, edge rusher. Again, you were not getting to the quarterback. You're not getting to the quarterback. We were a self-inflicted wound with that edge rushing room, right? We have lost all the leverage in that group. And again, we need to we need to make our edge rushing room that's going to make offensive coordinators keep them up at night, right? That's my number 2. You could switch 1 and 2 if you want to. My third one, if I'm ranking it, I'd say linebackers. I mean, again, if we're talking about, the successors, again, we haven't seen a linebacker room since John Beeson or Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly and those guys. We haven't seen it. And again, we haven't had a true good linebacker group since those days. And ever since Luke Kuechly left, it's just been downhill ever since, right? Then I'd probably say safety. I would take safety because, again, you're losing a lot of guys. You're losing Xavier Woods, who regressed significantly. The Jordan Fuller, again, reunion was ineffective. Again, you only have Sam Franklin, who's a standout on special teams, but he's not going to hold down the fort at the safety position. Damani Richardson showed a lot. You need to be able to find players who fit that 3-4 complex scheme that Evero runs. And so I think safety would be my fourth, but tight end would be my fifth. I think tight end would be my fifth. Again, I think tight end's a lot. I'm actually now thinking that tight end is more significant for Bryce Young's development than a wide receiver one. I think that what we saw with Bryce, what he was able to do with this wide receiver group, with Thielen and Coker and Xavier Legette, I think shows me that he's got enough. But I think having a true number one tight end to give him that security blanket over the middle is more beneficial than having a true number one wide receiver for his development. I think getting him a true number one and getting him a true number one tight end, if you can do both, great. But I don't, and if you want to add some talent to the tight end group or the wide receiver group while adding a true number one tight end, like if you get a guy like a Darius Slayton that we talked about last night, something like that to add, I'm not opposed to that. Something like that. If you could get a T. Higgins and then you could go out and get a true number one tight end somehow, I think it would definitely benefit Bryce Young. But again, I think a tight end is more important than a wide receiver. Now that I think about it, think about how many good quarterbacks look good, and then go look at their tight ends. Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, even Isaiah Likely is solid, right? Kelsey and Mahomes, another one. Trying to think of some other tight end and quarterback duos. I know there's more out there. I mean, Dallas Goedert and Hurts. That's another one. McBride and Murray. Trey McBride and Murray. That's another one. So it can definitely benefit Bryce. Kendall, again, it's not it's definitely something to be talked about for sure. So the tight end's more important than wide receiver in today's NFL. You could definitely make a case for that for syndicated. You for sure can. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure you pound that like button, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate that. Please do so. Please hit that like button. Ertz, Eric Blair. He's not a true number one tight end. He's not. Again, when I'm talking about a true number one tight end, I'm talking about a guy that can not only help develop, but it's someone that Bryce can build chemistry for years to come. So Ertz, listen, I think he would definitely benefit, but again, I just think that having a security blanket over the middle for Bryce Young is more important than a true number one wide receiver. That's why I say tight end. People might say it's a hot take, but go look at today's NFL. Yeah, but Eric, we'd have to trade for Kittle. And Kittle, I don't think Kittle's touchable over in San Fran land. I don't think he's touchable. He's a guy I think that is untouchable. So let's talk about I get that, Josh. I'm not saying that JT can't develop into that, but we don't know yet. Again, like I said, I understand that you got Jadavion Sanders. He showed some flashes for sure as a reliable pass catcher, but that's about it. He's a solid foundation But again, I don't think you should stop there. Again, I think this team needs a true number one tight end to give Bryce Young a security blanket over the middle. And again, Sanders could still develop in that. That does not mean that having two tight ends doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. I mean, look at Brady. Brady had two tight end sets. Before Hernandez did Hernandez things, and then Gronk. I'm just saying, it's not a terrible. I just don't think it's that terrible idea. I'm not saying he doesn't need a true number one wide receiver either. I'm not saying that. But having a Jadavion Sanders, I mean, you could make the case for Tyler Warren and Jadavion Sanders together. That could be a dynamic tight end duo. I'm just saying. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would not be opposed to it. But again, we got to talk. But here's another thing. When we're talking about Dan Morgan, though, ladies and gentlemen, right? Guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, please. Appreciate it. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. There it goes. Booyah. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate that. But when we're talking about this whole offseason overhaul, and we're talking about Dan Morgan declaring war on mediocrity, okay? Here is what I was getting at with this title and all that. Is that Dan Morgan isn't here to play it safe, ladies and gentlemen. He's our general manager, right? And mediocrity should be no longer acceptable in Charlotte, North Carolina. Because after years of mismanagement and uninspired football and a roster that, again, looked more like a patchwork kilt than an NFL team, Morgan's needs to roll up his sleeves, and I want him to be aggressive this offseason. I want a hard-ass overhaul. And frankly, it's been long overdue. Again, we can't sugarcoat this anymore. We have been a mess for too long. You cannot dance around this anymore. We have been a punching bag of the NFL. We've been stumbling through losing seasons. We've been stumbling through questionable front office decisions, a carousel of coaches who couldn't right the ship, an owner meddling within football operations, right? Now, after what we saw this season, it was respectable. It was a respectable finish on the back half of the season, thanks to a large part of Dave Canales injecting some life, some much needed life into this team. That's a flicker of hope, right? And we were no longer the league's favorite joke. And we're still, the problem is we're still light years away from being this serious playoff contender. And Dan Morgan knows that. I mean, he knows that. But I don't, and everybody, I feel like, is avoiding this dreaded word of a rebuild label. But that's what this is exactly happening, man. Like, there's no way around it. The foundation is finally starting to feel like getting stable once again. And that's something we haven't been able to claim for a while, because stability matters, but it doesn't always end up winning you games, right? And what I mean by that is the job's not finished yet. Yes, you can have stability, but it's also about bringing in talent. Like, Morgan's job is to fix these glaring holes that have kept this team anchored at the bottom of the standings. He's not interested in half measures. And I get that. Like, we have a tight budget, but we all as fans have this bigger vision, right? We always think about the bigger vision going forward when it comes to these teams. Like the Panthers, this team is not in the best cap situation, and at least not yet. That could change. Maybe if they make the right moves, make the right cuts, that could change soon enough. More importantly, Morgan has, again, we've talked about it, has 9 NFL draft picks. We've done plenty of mock drafts on this channel. There's a lot of flexibility to be made here with some aggressive moves. You can trade up, trade down, flip picks for proven talent. Again, I think nothing's off the table. Again, this is a business where flexibility is the name of the game. And Dan Morgan's going to play it with the long-term vision of trying to turn this franchise around. And I know for you guys and me as a fan, we're cautiously optimistic, and for good reason. Like Bryce Young, again, later through this last season, started showing us what we've been waiting for, giving us something that we haven't had in years and that's hope. But hope, again, that is not a strategy. Okay? If you're banking on that to be your strategy, again, you're delusional. Again, if Morgan can't find the right pieces to complement Young's development and fit into this culture that Canales is building, again, we'll be back in that basement once again. And it will be back in that basement faster than you can even say rebuild. That's the biggest issue. Right? And so when you talk about a game plan, there's no more missing pieces, ladies and gentlemen. Like Morgan laid it out this offseason when we just watched that video when he was on that Clara Metz Gebhardt from Charlotte Sports Live. He kept things close to his vest when we watched that interview. But one thing was crystal clear about that is that the Panthers are going to hunt for playmakers on both sides of the ball. And again, I'll pull up that clip again and show y'all what Dan Morgan said for some of you guys that missed it. I'm going to pull that clip up again for some of you guys that missed it real quick. And here's what he had to say. It's a short 1-minute clip.
And I know you're probably, got a list of all the things that you want to do this off season, and you don't want to give away anything either, right? And I definitely understand that. But where are the needs on this roster, at least from a broad perspective of what you can talk about right now and what you're looking for in the players that you're going to bring here?
Yeah, I think, we're going to look to bring, passionate football players, first of all, and then we're going to look for playmakers on both sides of the ball. So defensive side, guys that can take the ball away, guys that can affect the quarterback. And then on the offensive side, guys that can make plays, whether, receiver, tight end, guys that could just make big plays. We were kind of missing that element on both sides of the ball this past year. So, we'll attack that. And then, I think on the defensive side, our front, we got to get a little stronger there so we're able to stop the run. But, we're just going to look to get better in every avenue. In every position, we're just going to try to get stronger and create the most competition that we can.
Let's talk about.
Okay, so again, it's just like what we're talking about here tonight. So he's not giving this chick anything. Again, he's holding it close to his chest. He's saying what we're going to go after. Again, Morgan knows that the defensive front got manhandled week in and week out, and he's not dodging that reality. Okay, he even quoted in that video on the defense side up front, we've got to get stronger there. And he admitted that. No more excuses. That's the translation, ladies and gentlemen. No more gaping holes in this roster. Okay, the Panthers defense couldn't put pressure on a quarterback if their lives depended on it. Their offense Their offense lacked anyone who could stretch the field. That's changing, or at least it better if Morgan wants to keep his job. Like, here's the thing. The current roster, there are some bright spots, I will say, okay? But there's just not enough bright spots, right? And I'm going to be fair here that this cupboard is not entirely bare, okay? Bryce Young's the centerpiece of this rebuild. You got some solid run blocking. You got some solid building blocks, I should say, sorry. You got Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, Chuba Hubbard, Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, Ike Ekwonu, Taylor Moton. But beyond that, this roster is dangerously thin, right? Now, some of these rookies, again, that we've drafted could end up being part of that conversation, okay? Solid building blocks, okay? I'm not saying that they're not, but right now those are more of the known names, I guess you could say, or the established guys. That's what I'm looking for. So starting quality talent here is scarce. We just went over some of that depth chart. The depth is practically non-existent. Again, you're looking at practice squad players starting or being in the rotation. Like, Morgan's well aware of this, right? Like, he has to be. Because since stepping in, he's brought a level of professionalism. He's brought in that level of direction to an organization that had been floundering under constant mismanagement. And then you got, team owner David Tepper, who seems satisfied with the progress, even though the Panthers only managed 5 wins. But competitive losses aren't going to cut it forever, because that's what they were. Besides what, maybe a couple games that weren't competitive losses. But Dave Canales brought a spark, but moral victories don't get you in the playoffs, man. Like, if we're serious about challenging this division, right? Like, you got to nail every move this offseason, because close doesn't count it in the NFL. Okay. So again, that's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. There's no more excuses going into this offseason. Again, years of losing seasons, uninspired football, head-scratching front office decisions have left this fan base and me frustrated. But now, I'll say this, for the first time in a long time, I feel like there's some hope here. And I think this offseason isn't just about plugging holes. It's about turning a struggling franchise into a contender. So I think Dan Morgan knows what's at stake. He's not interested in playing it safe. I mean, the groundwork is laid out and the expectations are set, but now it's time to deliver, because if Morgan can't fix this, then we're back to being the league's joke. And nobody right now is laughing in Carolina. I can tell you that. Nobody's laughing in Carolina. Carla Gebert, I think is her name, yes. To be honest, if we could trade for Myles Garrett for like a 2026 first round, maybe a 2025 third, keep our 8th, draft Mason Graham, our best available defensive player, would be nasty. Our conference ain't far away. We could easily make the playoffs. For sure. That's an interesting take, Eric. That is an interesting take, for sure. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would not be opposed to it. That's for sure. I would not. So, Rock, you're right. You got to trust the process. So, again, we'll see. We'll see how this offseason pans out. Again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, again, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss any new content. Also, shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. Sign up for free today. You get 125% bonus up on your first bet. There's a link in my link tree there and in the description of this live stream. Also, make sure you follow me on all social media at Roppstar92_. That's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads. What else am I on? Facebook, but that would be the Roppstar Report. If you want to go follow the Facebook page, that would be a blessing. I would greatly appreciate all you guys doing that. And again, continue to show your love support here at the Roppstar Report. Guys, I'm going to hop off of here. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, do me a favor. Again, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and click that post notification bell. Those are the 3 free things that you can do. Don't forget about becoming a member. You can become a member today. I'm actually going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to go ahead, and I think I got some free memberships I can give away right now, which I might just go ahead and bless some of you with that. Now, membership gifted. You have 10 memberships left to gift this month. So I'm going to go ahead and gift 5 of you guys now. So let's see who gets gifted 5 memberships. Zoe87 got gifted. T. Thompson got gifted a membership. Kenneth got gifted a membership. Earl Locklear got gifted a membership. And C got gifted a membership. Let's see who else got gifted. Let's do one more. I got 5 more. Josh, you got gifted a membership. Mr. Hunky Dory got gifted a membership. Andre Williams got a gifted a membership. Make True Money got a gifted a membership. And Trill One got gifted a membership. So all you guys got gifted a membership. So shout out to all you guys getting gifted a membership for coming in here and all that good stuff. So I wanted to give back to some of you guys coming in here and just showing your support, who like, subscribe, leave comments. Because I do like to hear y'all's thoughts, man. I do like to hear y'all's thoughts throughout the live streams, or even when you comment, even on the shorts or whatever. I do like to hear you guys' thoughts. So make sure you do that. Again, I'm also working on some off-season stuff. Like I said, I'm working on merch for you guys. That is something I'm still working on. I am very particular on how I want this merch to look. That's why it's taking so long, because I want it to be perfect. I could just give you guys some basic stuff out, but I mean, with some my logo and the Roppstar Report, all that good stuff. Fuck all that. Okay. All right. Fuck all that. So, I'd rather just, I want my merch to be perfect the way I want it to be once it comes out. Gifted, Eric Blair gifted the Roppstar Report 1 membership. Nice. Eric Blair gifted a membership, and it went to Hatred. So Hatred just got gifted a membership. Shout out to Eric Blair for giving out a membership there. Yeah, I'll definitely start giving out some more memberships, guys. There's definitely going to be some perks to that to come. There's going to be membership videos. There's going to be membership live streams. There's going to be membership shorts. So there's going to be a lot going on in this upcoming season. God, it's a blessing how far the Roppstar Report has come because of you guys showing your love and support. So I appreciate y'all. But I'm going to hop off of here because I got some more content I got to work for you guys. So again, do me a favor. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. And of course, click that post notifications bell so you can always notified when I'm live or I post something or I post a short or whatever the case may be. So appreciate y'all. Again, as always, I love to leave you guys with 3 things. Have fun, be safe, and as always, y'all know what to do. Keep pounding. Peace.